this video, I'm going to teach you how to practically implement your knowledge of arrays and also talk about another function that allows you to dynamically add items into an array. We're back on JS Fiddle, and because we're going to have some alert boxes pop up, and we're going to run not only a while statement but also a for statement. So we'll get started and create a couple variables. This program is going to be a grade entry and output program. So in other words, it's going to take a list of grades in from a teacher, and then it'll print out all the students' grades. So we're going to do var students, and I'm going to create an array by doing new array, and this will create an empty array. And I'm going to do var grades, and we'll do new array. And in future lessons, I'm going to teach you how to do something like this and put it all in one JavaScript object, and that's something we'll get into in the future that allows for you to lump all of your data into one big piece. The next thing we're going to do is do var I, and we're actually going to set this is going to be a little bit different. We're using a sentinel value, so we're going to set it to Y, which will stand for yes. And now we'll create our while loop. So we'll do while I is not equal to n and I is not equal to capital N, just to try to catch some user validation. Then we'll run what's in here. And this may seem a little bit backwards to you that we're doing an and, because usually if this were an if statement, and would never be possible here because you couldn't be capital N and or lowercase n and capital N. However, you have to think about what a while statement does. So while this is running, if you want this to quit, you need this to be n and or I'm sorry, you need it to be lowercase n and not uppercase n. So that may sound a little bit tricky, but if you think through it, what this means, because you have both of these nots, you need both of these nots to be true in order to end that while loop. So you need the I to not equal n and I to not equal capital N, or else it's just going to keep on going and going and going. And part of that is because you kind of have some double negatives working out here, but play with it, you'll get used to it. When I tested this out, it actually kept on creating an infinite loop because I kept on doing or here because I was treating this like an if statement. But it's a while, so you need both of those to come back, and in order to do that, you do need to use and. So I'll keep going. We're going to create a var set student. So we're going to create a variable here called set student, and we're going to get a prompt. So we're going to say student name. And then this is where the function comes in. We're going to do students, so the name of our array, and then we're going to do what's called a push. And so all push does is it adds an element onto an array. And so what we want to add is whatever we enter into set student. So that's going to create a new index in that array. And so that'll add a new student to the array. And then we do var set grade, and then we do another prompt, and then we ask for the grade. And then you can probably know what I'm going to do now. You do grades push and then set grade. Okay, now we need to ask for the sentinel value. I equals prompt, and we'll say, would you like to add another entry? Y for yes, N for no. Okay, and So what that's going to do is it's going to start the while loop because I is starting out as Y, and so it's going to execute all of the code inside this while loop block until it gets that sentinel value saying that we do not want to enter anything in, and then it'll go and continue on. So that will add all of the it'll add as many students or grades as you want into the array, but now we need to print this out because it's no real point in being in the array if we don't see it. So we're going to do a for loop now to iterate through the arrays and print them out, and we're going to do var j. One thing you'll find is very common if you already use I for iteration through a loop earlier in the program, j is typically what you'll end up using later on. It's just something it seems like all programmers do, so it's a good thing to know. So we'll do var j equals 0, and let me make sure that is a 0. Yeah. The programming environment I usually use does a cross through that 0, just so you know. But okay, j is less than or equal to students.length. And just so you know, you could also do grades length because if you have something in students, you're going to have it in grade. So this just gives you that total length. And then we do j++ to increment it. And now we'll console log this out. And so now, if you remember back to one of our last lessons, when I showed you how to pull data out of an array, we're going to do students, brackets, and j, because this is going to start off with the very first the first entry in the array, and so it's going to pull from students up here, and it's going to pull whatever j is equal to. So when the index is 0, it'll pull out the first one. When index is 1, it'll pull out the second one, so on and so forth. So we'll do students plus, and then we'll add a string into it. So we'll say scored A, and I put some spaces in there just for readability. And then we want to do the grades. So we do grades, and just like you'd assume, we do a j in there, and another plus sign, and on the exam. So I like this one, this program, because it's actually something very similar to what you might actually build someday. So just to summarize what we have here, we created a while loop that takes the inputs in from the user and stores them inside the array. After that while loop is over, it goes directly to the for loop, where it iterates through both arrays, and it prints out what is in the student and then the corresponding grade for that exam. So we're going to run this and see if it works. Student name is, first one's going to be Jordan, and let's say I struggle a little bit, so I'm going to get a 75 on that test. Next one up would be, now it says, do I want to add another entry? Yes, I do. And next one up is going to be Tiffany. She got a 90. Yes, I want to add another one. Let's say Christine, and she got 100. She did a great job. And we'll just add one more, and we'll do Rita, and she got a 95. And do OK, and nope, I do not want to add any more, so I'll do end, hit OK, and now we come down to the console, and you can see Jordan scored a 75, Tiffany scored a 90, Christine scored a 100, Rita scored a 95, and then it does undefined just because return value. But so it printed out every one of the things inside of the array, and it printed out perfectly. So if I threw a lot out at you kind of in a short period of time and under 10 minutes, so you may want to rewatch the video to really get a good feel for how this works. We use two different kind of loops. We added items onto an array, onto two arrays, and then we pulled from two corresponding arrays and then printed out that value. So there's a lot in there. There's a lot that you would be using on a day-to-day basis as a programmer, so make sure you have a firm understanding of this, And after this video, we'll go on to some more advanced functions that you use on arrays.